Change it.
All right, welcome back
Okay.
to the weekly SKTLs crypto conference call.
Space crypto. You got to throw the word space in there.
Well, we're in space. Look at our background. I think it explains itself. We have the SKTLs logo in space in the upper right there. But anyway, welcome back. We have Bryce with us, hedge fund analyst. We also have Cody Willard, hedge fund manager. Dan Geraci, CEO, Freefall Aerospace. And Cody, we have some special guests this week. Would you care to do the honors of a quick intro before we learn more?
I would love to, and unfortunately, it looks like we lost Mathis, who is
he may come back.
To have. Hopefully, he'll be back on here in a second. I think he was having connection problems. Casey DeRod, did I say that correctly?
Yes.
And Scott Maitner.
Close enough. I've heard people say worse.
So. I should have practiced. If I were on TV, my producers would be yelling in my ear right now. Actually, they would have made sure I practiced those names before we got on air.
Yes,
but look, it's great to have you guys. They run, for lack of a better term, they can explain better, New Space Nexus, formerly called New Space New Mexico, and it is a space incubator-like thing. I'm going to let them tell us all about it. I've hung out with them 3 times and learned a lot about it, but I'm not going to explain it nearly as well as they do, who spend 50, 60 hours a week on New Space Nexus. So please welcome and please tell us all about it.
Okay, well, I'll give it a start, and I am happy to be here. Thank you for inviting us. We started New Space New Mexico, now rebranded to New Space Nexus in about 2019. And it's a nonprofit, and what our basics of what we say we do, because is we unite and ignite space. So we first, on the Unite side, we saw that the companies, it's hard to, space is hard. And we said, well, we're going to, look at what do the space industry need. So our vision is to grow the space industry from New Mexico for the nation. And so we had to really put ourselves in the place of the companies and understand what they needed. And one thing that they came back over and over is like there was a lot of stovepipes. It was hard to navigate. It was hard to understand who's who, how they can partner with other companies, how they can get to customers. And so the Unite side of what we do with New Space Nexus is, we have a New Space Alliance. We bring companies together. We have a fun networking event we do every third Thursday Tech Talks, the T5. Been doing that for 4 years straight. And then we also lead a national level conference and workshops called the State of the Space Industrial Base, bringing thought leadership to that industrial base and what's needed, what are the challenges, and what are the solutions for that, our nation's space industrial base. So that's Unite. We're kicking some butt in that area. And then on the Ignite side is, how do we help? What are the resources the companies need to get put in place to help them go faster to Ignite? And so with that, we have a open prototyping facility that's here behind these doors. And, companies can come in and software, hardware prototype, but we also host a number of events here. We have some equipment that, the companies can't get to, that's high cost equipment. We have sort of a Uber, Airbnb type program called the Equipment Connector that we're getting in place that really helps companies get to those high cost equipment. But a big part of the Ignite and challenges the companies is how to get to the customers. So on the Ignite side, we look at and workforce. So how do we help them get to these resources so they could go faster? This last year, we were doing a lot of this navigation and connecting, and already, but we formalized it and stood up the New Space Igniter program. And I'll let Scott talk about it because he's the architect of this excellent program. We have some great results from it already. So
Sure.
I'm going to turn it over to Scott.
Yeah, so we just completed our first year with the New Space Igniter program.
Scott, hold on one second.
Oh,
Let's
sure.
say hi to Mathis since we missed him earlier. Mathis,
All right, sorry.
in the house. Thanks for being here, Mathis. Good to see you. Mathis, would you give us 30 seconds of what you do and how you're related to New Space?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got a background on the financial services side, small startups, and having finished running a startup in Albuquerque, New Mexico, got introduced to the New Space team. I was aerospace and defense and investment banking back in the glory days of the 90s when it was all consolidating, which is kind of piqued my interest about New Space Nexus. Known Casey for a long time. High regard for her and her skills, and really think that the space industrial base, in terms of putting capital to work and helping companies get through that process to sell product, is one of the more exciting markets ahead of us. We'll put SPACs aside, but outside of that, at the venture capital level, I think it's a really cool market.
Well, and I didn't really get to say, because I was figuring the best part of New Space Nexus is we have a really good team. And what the companies love, a lot of times we say our team's on your team. And so you're going to meet Scott here in a second. I'll let him introduce himself. But so we have a few employees here, and we have great expertise in the military, civil, commercial space, years of it, and we have some folks that have strategic planning, product development. We have a lot of young entry, engineers and business folks that are just really helping us do a lot of great things. And then we have some consultants such as Mathis Shinnick and others that are really making sure that we're putting this end-to-end comprehensive sort of support system for the space companies in place. And like I said, I think we've been successful, and our success is always putting, the small and medium space companies are our customer. We have customers that fund us, but we call those our strategic partners, and we stay focused on those small and medium companies. Where are their gaps, where are the challenges, and how do we go, whatever it takes, go figure out how to get the resources to help them out. And that's been the success. So Mathis is helping with building an investor network. We're also putting together Pathways to the Stars, which is a workforce program to build that space ready talent, space talent pipeline. And so that's all these resources the company needs. But again, I want to turn it back to Scott because I want to tell you about our New Space Igniter, because it's really been a huge success, and we're going to keep going with it.
Scott, sorry we cut you off earlier.
No problem.
But give them your background too.
Oh, so background, from Minnesota originally, joined the Air Force in 1990, got my commission, served 25 years on active duty. A lot of different things, a lot of moves, but I guess the common thread was space and space operations, throughout my career. I did end up in Albuquerque at the beginning of my career and at the end. At the end, my kids were like, I don't want to move again. So we decided to retire, did that in 2015. I know Casey from our days at the Air Force Research Laboratory. She led tech engagement and all those programs. I was the deputy director for a technical directorate in AFRL. And so we worked closely together. So that's sort of how we met. And then I've been helping Casey and implement her vision for New Space New Mexico, now New Space Nexus, since about 2019. But let me tell you about the New Space Igniter program. And so a year ago, let me just start off by saying a year ago, this program didn't exist. It was all on paper, right? So within the last year, we've designed this program for small and early growth space companies. There's really the only sort of, if you're a small early growth space company and you've got a mature concept that's related to space, that's a pretty wide net. They can apply to our program. So once those applications come in, We evaluate them, and then they're placed on one of two teams. We have Igniter AA and Igniter AAA. So think professional baseball, right? The minor leagues are helping develop professional baseball players. We're helping develop space companies. And so based on their maturity of their concept and their company, we put them on these teams, and then they're introduced to our program. And so throughout the year with our program, we're really focused on helping them improve their readiness levels. And so we're talking about technology readiness, business readiness, integration, investment readiness, manufacturing readiness. And we are working in a way that's tailored to these companies, providing them critical introductions to the broader ecosystem that Casey described earlier.
We put them on the TR elevator.
The TR elevator, right? But they're part of this program, and it's like I see the world. We have 23 companies, 25 concepts in the program. I see the world through the lens of those 25 concepts. So me and Casey and everyone else on the team, we're looking for opportunities to make introductions, to give them the opportunity to talk to people that could be influential, but ultimately getting them ready to get in front of customers. And so customers, we're talking about government organizations, we're talking about large prime contractors and investors, of course. So every company is at different stages and with different needs, but we're helping them tackle their next important task to help them break through. It's hard. Casey said space is hard, right? So we're helping them break through in a bunch of different ways. So throughout this program, we've got every a couple times per month, we have what we call level up programming, where we'll bring in experts to talk to them about various topics, right? And throughout that's been going on for about a year. But as I mentioned, then there's these opportunities, right? So there's some competition within the program. Companies have the opportunity to level up. So you can come in as a AA, you can go to AAA, and then our top level is Igniter Elite. So currently we have 5 companies, the elite companies, and approximately 10 in AAA and in 10 in AA. So throughout this, we have this constant flow then of companies. Companies will come in, they'll level up, they'll graduate. Once they graduate, they become a part of Igniter alumni, so they're still a part of the community that we're building, but that opens up spots for new companies to come in. So right now, for example, our application window is, our applications are always open. You can go to newspacenexus.org and apply to this program, but our applications are always open, but a couple times per year, we can bring new companies in. So we are fixing to evaluate the queue of applications that are in our program and then let some new companies come in. A couple takeaways from this Igniter program that are interesting. One, collaborative innovation, or co-innovation as we call it. So these companies not only are benefiting individually from this program, but what we've noticed is that they're really helping each other. It was sort of an experiment, right? It's like, oh, there we go, Cody. Thank you for going to our website. But it was sort of an experiment. I was like, well, these companies, are they going to be sort of close hold with their technology? But I was really impressed and grateful to see the willingness that these companies that are in these programs, this program, have to help each other out. So when we're doing these events, I can see them in the chat and they're talking to each other, giving them tips. So that's nice to see. So we don't call it a cohort, we call it a team. So we have the AA team, the AAA team, and they're behaving like teammates, right? So it's nice to see them, and we've seen partnerships develop over the program year and things like that. So it's really nice to see that some of those examples. But the bottom line, and I'll end with this and hand it over to. Oh,
let me do
okay.
the big one.
Casey's going to steal my thunder and give you the bottom line.
So in less than a year, by September, we started October last year. And like I said, we were doing this. It just is this got put into more of a framework that we can work with these companies. But in the first year, we have logged $24.4 million in wins to these companies. And that's about 15 million of it was through our navigating, through our introducing them to the customer base. 15 million of government contracts through our wins, and 9.7 in investment dollars to these companies. So it's working. We say it's an incubator like, because a lot of times when you think of incubators.
You're muted, Cody.
That's what I said. I called it an incubator-like thing. We have to start this whole thing up, and then I got all insecure. I was wrong, but no, you totally just stole what I said.
That's not. So I know, but you said New Space Nexus was an incubator. We have an incubator, which is the Igniter, but we do a whole lot more. But usually people think of incubators where it's like office space, a little bit of wraparound services. Ours is, basically getting those suppliers to the buyers. We're getting the suppliers to the money, to customers, and then subsequent investments. So
I'll just add
our
one more
companies
thing.
love us.
Casey talked about our team at New Space Nexus and our consultants like Mathis. But one other cool thing that we've got going on is we have our Igniter Expert Network. And what that is 50 people that are experienced space technologists or government executives or industry CEOs, former CEOs that have donated their time and expertise to help these companies. And so the ability for these companies to have a one-on-one with the former, commander of the Air Force Research Laboratory, that's really valuable for them. And then giving them their initial thoughts on their concept or suggestions on how to pitch or who to talk to. And so that's one of the nice things about our program is this growing expert network that we have developed. And then the great thing about New Mexico, it's a small community. The degrees of separation are lower here. I mean, so I know someone that knows someone that knows a person that this person needs to talk to. It's 2 or 3, not 5 or 6 or 7. But just the willingness to help in this broader community. I mean, Dan mentioned some of the elements that are in this broader ecosystem. The tech engagement office at AFRL, Q Station, Hyperspace Challenge, Catalyst Campus. We're part of that community. And it's really nice to, the New Mexico Angels and Drew Tulchin and others. It's just this great resource for companies to come in. And New Mexico played a huge role in the first space race. And we are postured very nicely to play a huge role in this new space race.
Yeah, I would add, it's even just the Los Alamos National Laboratories and the number of PhDs per capita running around Albuquerque and its surrounding areas, most of which are related to space or defense in some way. It's a unique place to be building a space company. And I was with you guys maybe a month or 2 ago that we all got together Casey, I don't think I got to see you there, but I hung out with both Scott and Mathis. We actually met up even before the event at Top Golf, but that's a whole other story. But we the effort, money, and time that is being put into trying to build a space ecosystem around the Albuquerque area is serious, and I personally am trying to contribute to all of that. And I think it's exciting for the state of New Mexico, not to mention, obviously, space. I'm a big believer in the space revolution and its potential impact on not just national security, but making people safer, healthier, making more people access to food, and creating more prosperity, wealth, and livelihood for the entire country / the greater good of this planet.
Right.
Hey, well, do you want to throw in a question or two, Cabana or Mathis? Go ahead, Mathis. What is that noise?
Mathis' computer fan has a weird noise.
Yeah.
Somebody eating something?
Yep. I don't know. We can't hear you, Mathis. Well, I just want to say, there's more, this Igniter program, like I said, it's helping the companies, but we're really, working within this ecosystem to also look at, we have this program called Pathways to the Stars that we're really trying to figure out how, the space global space economy is growing, but how do we make sure we bring in our whole workforce in growing that whole workforce to be ready to take on all this new economy. And so our program actually puts this interconnected pathway from early childhood learning through middle school, through high school, through job placement. But the key part of the bonus is we have our companies coming on board and being partners with it, so that it's, I tell the companies, you need to put some skin in the game. You can't just expect us to grow this workforce for you and you come in at the end and do the job placement. You need to come down and help fund it, help mentor. And so we're really getting a pretty cool program going with that. And again, that's back to, looking at the companies, where are the resources that they need to grow, and then how do we do the right thing for those companies to grow. So like I said, we do have this incubator like program, but we have a whole lot more. Leading our space industrial base, that's a really cool program where we work with DoD, NASA, and we've had the white folks from space policy in the White House speaking. We bring companies in and be able to hear from them, and we've run that conference for 4 years and working on our 2024. You're muted.
Unmute, Cody. Can't hear you, Cody.
Mathis, do you want to try to talk one more time, or is it going to make it sound like someone's eating a Snickers bar? You want to? Let's give it one last shot here.
Oh,
Dan Geraci, do you have questions for Casey or Scott? Cabana.
No, I'm very familiar with what Casey and Scott have been doing. I think it's nice to see it in full swing, and I think at an even higher level, Albuquerque needs as much of this as possible, and I think the driving as much attention to that ecosystem and taking advantage of what most people don't realize is there, which is an incredible amount of assets. As Scott said, it's a very flat ecosystem. Access is incredibly easy compared to pretty much any other space hub in the country.
Awesome. I like I mentioned earlier, I've taken Bryce up to the Q station. We are trying to be active participants in the space revolution here in New Mexico and trying to build the ecosystem around it. And New Space Nexus is certainly part of that. Can you guys, Casey or Scott, can you guys tell us what is the single most successful company? Give us an example of a big success story. Drop a name or two. I saw Redwire's logo flash by there. They're now a publicly traded company. What other companies have come through? Has SpaceX ever come to New Mexico and play with Albuquerque and/or SpaceX, New Space at all?
They've been a part of our conferences. We have SpaceX participates along with many other companies. I did want to say, we've been trying to sort of tell the story of what's here since 2019 and be that convening organization, and really happy that there's been these other organizations that have come along to try and, do this heavy lift of telling the story, but also putting these resources in place for the companies to grow. I would say some successes have been, of course, Virgin Galactic is in New Mexico, and they've had their launches. They're starting to get a cadence of their commercial astronaut launches. Rocket Lab just acquired Solero Tech, and Solero Tech is one of 3 companies providing the solar power to most of the space systems. We used to always say, 50% of space power comes from New Mexico. Well, now Rocket Lab acquired them. And so the leader of Solero Tech, Brad Clevenger, is now the VP for space systems for Rocket Lab. Blue Halo just basically took one of the it was like a local grown company, ATA, and it's just doing great. Virus Research is doing well. Redwire. I was friends with the folks out of LoadPath. And in fact, when I was back in AFRL, one of the co-founders of LoadPath was one of our early AFRL scholar intern who then started LoadPath, which is now part of Redwire. So it's really cool to see these companies doing well. I think that, I don't know if there's.
Yeah, that's a good list. And there's examples too, like some of the smaller companies that are in our program. They're getting, big wins for them, right? Winning that contract, getting that raise. Those are big successes. And it's like they've got technologies that could be game changers. When you look at artificial intelligence, for example, and the applications to space domain awareness and other things, it could really, really impact that. So those are the kind of companies, or a new thruster technology. One of our companies is working on that. So there's some things, we're trying to help them get ready so that they can, be the next mid-sized company, the next big company, or help them build partnerships where, Blue Halo could partner with them and they could build a new vertical in a certain technology area, things like that.
Right.
Very
But
cool.
as far as, where we tell the story of what's here between the 3 Space Force organizations, Air Force Research Lab, Space Rapid Capabilities Office, Space Systems Command, their Innovation and Prototyping Directorate, they're all here, but also Sandia Labs and Los Alamos Labs, probably each, the last we look, have about a $500 million budget in space. So between all those organizations, that's about $3 billion per year of funding in space. These are customers that that these companies can come and have access to. And then of course we have our spaceport and we have our NASA centers down south. So New Mexico is a place to be.
And
the place for space.
And people are recognizing that too. You go back to the whole discussion on where's the headquarters of U.S. Space Command going to be. Albuquerque finished pretty good, top 5, top 3, something like that. So,
I think the top 1.
But we played well there. There's a Space Force Delta that's going to be moving and setting up operations in Albuquerque. So we see that growing too. I mean, it's already great, but more and more people in government organizations and industry are recognizing this is a great place to be. I should just mention real quick that our Igniter program that I talked about, we've got these 23 companies. They're from all over the country, right? So maybe 4 of those are New Mexico companies, but that program is national. But one of the reasons we rebranded to Nexus was because people thought, well, I got to be a New Mexico company to apply, and you don't, right? We want to highlight the great region that this is, and we think we can do that better, by attracting companies across the country and across the world in our program.
Amen. Rocket Lab just reported earnings, by the way. Stock looks to be up a little bit. I obviously haven't read the report. We'll find out more later. Spire just reported earnings. I don't know what it's doing. It looks like there's a $2 spread on the stock, so who the hell knows? Thank you guys for being here. We appreciate your time and energy, and excited to maybe in a few months you guys come back and give us an update or something. Let's stay in touch and keep building this New Mexico space eco.
Yep, we're always up for showing up. This was fun.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
It's this week's Skydles called. Cabana, what do you think?
I like guests. You get to learn more from just Dan. I mean, let me just say, we learn every week from Dan, but it's nice to hear.
But it's nice to hear like another voice, even. I mean, we really do. And for the record, I speak to Dan like 2 or 3 times outside of these Skydles calls. So I listen to Dan every time I get a chance. So
that's cool.
Okay.
Thank you, Dan. Always appreciate it.
It's great to see you again, Dan.
Good to see
Thank you, guys. Thanks for being here, Dan. Thanks, Cabana. Thank you, Bryce. Thanks, Casey and Scott. And Mathis emailed me just a moment ago. He said his phone was dying anyway. He's at a space conference. So good stuff. Thanks for being here. We'll see you guys. See viewers, same time, same bat channel next week. I'm going to be in New York City. I don't know that I'll be able to make this call. I might be recording some stuff at this time that next week. But I assume Cabana, Dan, and Bryce can pull it off without me.
I'm going to be traveling actually on my way from
Dan,
LA to
you got to be there if I'm not there.
All right. See you in 2 weeks then.
Okay. We'll take off. Thank you.
Thanks,
Blame
everybody.
Sarah
Thanks, everybody.
for that. You can blame Sarah.